Hello everyone, welcome to the Beginner's Guide to Solo. This is the Season 9 update to the solo lane. First off, I apologize for not uploading anything yesterday. I was working on a project that is taking me more time to put together than I thought it would, but that's okay. Anyways, back to the main point. So, solo lane actually hasn't really changed for Season 9 in terms of their role, in terms of their start, in terms of their approach to Conquest, other than a very mild increased interest in jungle camps on their side of the jungle. Beyond that, there's really very little difference. Really, the differences come down to build, where there's a little bit more emphasis on less hybrid items, but more building one full protection item, one full damage item, and then usually a lot of protection items. Maybe you get... It's tough to explain because solo is still very much customized to what the enemy is doing, really. I wasn't sure what other skin to be, so it'll just be this one. So the first thing that we want to do is figure out who our laning opponent is. Is it a mage? What is this? I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards it being Ra as a personal guess, but I could be wrong. We're going to not build a protection item as a result of this. Bluestone, of course, because Sun Wukong is rather strong with that. Or do I want Warrior's Axe? Or do I want Tainted Steel instead? Tainted Steel might be the smarter choice here. And then... go for a hammer of some kind, get teleport. 4 health potions. Now again, the start hasn't changed. You still start at blue. You're still going for that first. So, that has not changed in the slightest. And again, your purpose and goals have not changed. You're still looking to build yourself up in such a way that you can take the place of either the jungler or the support as needed. That hasn't changed either. Just your general overall builds will be a little different because of mostly the changes to the items. You're still customizing it to some extent to your laning opponent. Actually, yeah, your first couple of items are going to be kind of specific to whoever your laning opponent is. I built Tainted Steel because not only do I not know who my laning opponent is or what kind of damage they're going to be doing, but also it will be useful late game because Ra will heal, Pele will self-heal. It is Ra, so I made a good choice here. Excellent. Alright, he's going to try to poke me out here. That's why he's shooting me instead. He hasn't got the kind of beef. We're going to poke him a little bit there. We aren't missing enough health to actually use a health potion, ironically. I wish that that came up a little bit earlier, but that's alright. It only helps you so much, Ra. Now he has a health potion here. I didn't need to walk into that, honestly. See, that's a problem. Is mostly the fact that he can heal in that little thing. It gives him a little bit of a boost. Ah, that wasn't quite how I wanted that to go, but sure. I keep walking into that. But I've got Ao Kuang here. I'm hoping he ganks. He does gank. Did he just use Med? Does he have Med? He does. Alright, that's fairly interesting. That's very interesting. That means if he dies, he's not going to come back quick enough. That's pretty substantial information, actually. Alright, so now that we have that fairly significant information, and I've already pulled out his meditation, we're going to go for this bad boy over here. We're just in time. Alright, I think he went back, but I'm not sure. He did not go back. He healed up with, I'm assuming, potions. Those physical protections first. Yeah, he had a much safer assumption that he could make. You can't really afford to fight me, can you? Especially since I'm about to get ult. And I will probably get it before you and use it to my advantage. There it is. And now you're in some trouble, aren't you? You just ulted the wave? You're almost out of mana, too. Let me poke you out a little bit there. And then I back up a little bit because I have no idea where Pele is. And then I'm actually not going to do much here.
Enemy missing middle. Be careful left.
You see, I have a... Okay, my villainous plan was to get him under tower, but it's clearly not going to happen.
Take what is left of their life.
That was pathetic. I don't know where she went, but I'm kind of nervous about it. I have the Bird of Nope up if I need to. Okay. Bye. I love Sun Wukong so much. Hold on. You don't have what you need to kill me. Oh, you dove for me. Alright, if I'd just done one ability, I would have been okay, but unfortunately I didn't think I had the mana for it. We'll go ahead and do Blackthorne Hammer, I think, for the time being. We're gonna go ahead and upgrade this, so we get better cooldowns with this. And we still have enough for some health potions. More importantly, I don't think Ra got anything for that. He did not. He got Diddley's squad for that. I'm going to leave Ao Kuang to take my blue buff. Because I've got a wave to clear.
Thanks.
And then we pick this up. I should have actually bought wards in retrospect, but it's alright.
Keep sight of your foe.
He's going for his mana buff right now. I'll go ahead and grab this. Yeah, let's tango, son. You see, the thing about you is, you have no way of getting away from me. I can do whatever I want to you, basically. And you really can't do much about it. Okay. I can't decide if he was aiming for the minions deliberately, or if he was aiming for me and just missed. I can't quite decide. That took too long. Sorry, son. And you wasted your blind. No, that's not worth the chase. Okay. Say less. You okay over there? It looks like he won that. I won this. Somehow. Oh, he did not win that. Alright. Where is she at? Oh, hi, Amir. Alright, that's not cool. He's gonna try to steal my mana buff, I already know this. Can I stop this? Is he just sitting there waiting for it? No, he's not. Alright. I'm gonna do it on this side because I'm mildly paranoid.
Weight of the world. Be careful, enemy missing.
Alright. Now we're gonna clear this. I could use my ult to restore my HP at this point, but I'm not going to. Oh, by the way, the reason why I went for Blackthorne Hammer, besides the cooldown and the mana benefits, is also I wasn't sure what my enemy's damage source was going to be, so that is a nice... It gives me HP, which is good. So that way, even if it was a physical, whether it was physical or magical opponent, it wouldn't matter, because I would be able to have something to help me defensively against that. The waves are cleared. I have plenty of time to fall back, grab some items. I'm going to want some magic protections here. I'm going to very specifically be building Pestilence, obviously. That pretty much goes without saying. Buy some wards, buy some health potions. There we go. I only bought one ward for some unholy reason. That's cool. Nope. Get rid of you. Nah, it's not worth it. That's his wave clear gone already. You know what? That's not even worth the effort. We're gonna go back and grab... Well, I accidentally threw my ward down in the middle of the lane. That was a good prediction. Let me just Bird of Nope really quick. Just kill him, just kill him. That's all I needed. That is all I needed. Now notice again that I'm increasing the 69, or whatever, 69, not 69, it's not 69, 72 transformations, noise. Rather than my ult. My ult is primarily just used for a healing type thing as an escape right now. The 72 transformations will really help me out in terms of getting kills. It gets, you know, plenty of damage. I'll be upping my ult as much as possible after 72 transformations, but 72 transformations is primarily what I'm looking for at this moment. Primarily just for the boxing. As awesome as this ult is for a variety of situations, it's not exactly pivotal in terms of boxing potential, whereas 72 transformations has a lot of boxing use. With either the Tiger form for the stun and damage, Bird of Nope for getting out of dodge, or the Ox to clear the wave if I really need to. I've got a couple of different options. The ult serves more as a last-ditch effort to get out of a situation if I have no other options, if the Ox is down or whatever. Like so. I'm not particularly concerned about him. I don't know where he's going. I don't know if he thinks I was born yesterday or something. Apparently. What did you... You have Breastplate of Valor, I'm pretty sure. Not sure it's really doing what you think it's doing, guy. Yeah, he's got Breastplate of Valor. And he went for Dynasty Plate Helm. Alright. Poke. He altered the wave again. Hello. Nope. I was just waiting for you to use that. I really was. Okay, you've now just done a goof. As nice as you think that probably was, that is not the career move. Because now my entire team knows exactly what's going down over here. They're not going to leave me be. My mana is in absolute shambles. I just need a second. Did I make a mistake? I did. I got a little too aggressive on that one. That was 100% my fault. I shouldn't have gone in there. I thought my allies were going to go in there with me. I was totally wrong. Yamoja was not even remotely interested in that. I misread that situation. I mean, my teleport's back up, so I don't really mind too much. What am I going to want? I kind of feel like Horrific Emblem would be really much more damaging to the enemy team than anything else. I'll pick up the first stage here, and then see what I can spend my cash money on. Let me see. What do I want to spend my cash money on? I'm kind of feeling Glad Shield, to be honest. So we'll go with that. Yeah, I didn't have the cash for that. That's fine. That's fine. Grab some wards. Actually, buy 2 this time. Now, the reason why I want Glad Shield is because I want a little bit of a bonus to my damage output. Okay, that was probably Pele stealing everything on this side of the jungle. That's fine. We got the tower. Somehow. And, yeah, overall, pretty good fight. Pretty good fight. Alright. Now we'll go ahead and grab this, because he's not really going to be interfering with me right now, because he's got the waves to deal with. I'll just whiff everything here. That's fine. Sorry. Not today. Be careful right again? Boy, they really are upset at me, aren't they? Alright. That was a mistake, wasn't it now? That was good. Give him that one. Definitely good. Ta-da! Yeah, he's got Tyrannical Plate Helm. Alright, so that's why he's trying to fight me around the minions. At least I know Pele isn't coming for me. Sorry. Oop, I walked right into that. Outplayed again. That doesn't matter. There we go. Yeah. I mean, I can afford to lose it at this point. I'm not too broken up about it. Well, your ult hits like a wet noodle, doesn't it?
I must have take what is left of their life. Nice job.
Alright. As long as he's not following me into the jungle, we should be good. We apparently are good. Let me go ahead and back. Grab my Glad Shield. And looks like everyone's dead, Jim. Alright. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and head to middle lane. Oh, no, wait, hold on. I might as well grab my Harpy here and take this Lotus. That's pretty important. I might grab the Obelisk as well really quick. Okay, hello. He stole that. Fair enough. He should have walled me off earlier. We're ganking this? You sure you want to do that? I don't think that's the best idea, but I gotta buy time. Alright. Let's buy time then. There we go. I'm assuming you can kill him. Get him. Thank you. That's what I was trying to get for him. Okay. Oh, he's going in on that. I was not prepared for this move. Alright. Alright. She's slowed. Ouch. I just needed to dodge the freeze. Get slowed. Okay, at least I took Ymir with me, so that's something. Yeah, I died to the Zeus, but I took Ymir with me, so that's a minimal... Oh, the Ymir's doing really well. Why would you build... Oh, he's their jungler! No. No, he's not. He's their support. With Amulet of Silence for some unholy reason. Okay. And I the jungle. Okay. Interesting build. I'm not going to necessarily criticize it for being wrong. because he does seem to be doing rather well. It's not a bad pickup if he's, you know, he's regenerating in the jungle. He gets attack speed, which is nice for Ymir. But if you wanted to do damage with Ymir, there's better options. I'm not going to really worry about that too much right now. What do I want next? That's a really good question. I kind of want this. But is that really what I need right now? I could really do with Ansley, though. Although I'm not going to get that quite yet. I'm not really sure what item I will want next. Oh, of course. You know what? Brawler's Beatstick. What the heck am I even talking about? Yeah, that's about to come up. We're going to go ahead and actually upgrade this really quick while we're here. I have 300 gold to spare. So that's not really a big deal. Grab some health potions. Artificially sustain myself a little bit longer here. I don't think they need my help there. Something tells me they don't need me there. But I do need to pick this up. I should probably clear that wave first as well. That's looking pretty beefy. No, it's really not. It was me hallucinating, apparently. You hate to see it. I'm okay. I'm not in any particular danger right now, unless you're talking about them on the Pyromancer, which is a completely different story. Can I reach this in time to help out? Yes, I can. I was wondering if my Tiger would last that long. Sometimes I can't remember. We attacked the Fire Giant, and this is not a good time to attack the main... We're attacking the real Fire Giant. I don't like this call, Chief, but okay. I mean, the last call worked out really well, because that was a massive gank fight that we had in right lane, but I don't know about this one. Kinda sus. That's Apollo flying in. Hey, Chief. We got this? Yeah. No, we don't do this anymore. Yeah, that's a bad choice. I am so dead. Let me use the Fire Giant to my inherent advantage here. Yeah, come in here and fight me. I dare you. Nope. I'm still not gonna make it. I tried. At least they were scared of attacking me in the Fire Giant, but that was about it. Oh my goodness, that was funny. I do need Brawler's Beatstick, though. I should have some form of penetration. I'll probably grab Heartseeker. And then I'll evolve this into Tainted Breastplate, maybe? Do I really need Brawler's Beatstick? I'm not sure I do. You know what? I'm gonna go into Heartseeker as a form of damage, and then I might go Mantle Discord for more protections. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I might go into Mantle Discord first. Get my protections up. Then build Heartseeker for my damage. Yeah, that should work. Okay. It looks like there's a bit of a wave building up there. There's that wave there, and they're about to meet again. So I think I need to clear the right lane really quick and then grab my mana buff. Yeah, you can see that wave is pretty huge over there. Let's find out what this deal is. Somebody stole my blue. That's fine. Yeah, it was going to stack up pretty nicely. Alright.
How unlucky.
Yeah, they cleared out the jungle over here. That's fine. Hey, how you doing? You keep ulting my wave, and it's very odd. If only I could hit you. Alright. Yeah, I see her. We got the Gold Fury, though, so we served as a nice distraction at the very least. There's Ymir. Oh, they're coming for me. There's Ymir. Question is, who else is kicking around? Ra is. This is an easy escape, though. And he can't even hit me with his ult.
Enemy missing. An enemy has been.
Question is, where do they go? Oh. Alright. Guess that answers that question. Ah, shoot. I was a second too late. I'm so dead. Oh no, I made it. I'm just gonna stick around for the sake of Izanami and... No, I gotta go back. No, they're actually fighting this. Okay. Holy cow.
Powerful as you, it seems.
Okay, that was a bit odd, but sure.
Pick up your feet. Retreat, retreat.
Yeah, I'm out of here. Don't worry about it. His ult is down. He's pressing hard on that one.
I'll gank right lane. Enemy
He's after me.
Enemy ultimate incoming.
Enemy ultimate incoming!
Where'd he go? Hold up. Alright, that was odd. He was gonna come over to kill me. I don't think he saw me. I think my trick of hiding behind the rock worked. It's the oldest trick in the book, but it's effective. When in doubt, hide behind rocks. That should not have worked. What? We'll wait a couple of seconds for Morningstar just for the extra damage. That's fine. Do we save Emojo? Ra's just a little ahead of me. He's died 5 times and killed no one. He's gotten ahead of me purely by farming. Farming and assists, alright. Oh wow, that's a cluster. They're breaking off though. Which is mistake number 1. You're a bit early on that guy. Paranoid much? Wow. Like, that was instantaneous. I hit him with my stick. He turns around. He whips around, busts his shield out. I was nowhere near this guy. Yeah, I see. Do you have crits? You have big crits. Alright. Hello. Nope. That's what they call the bird a nope. Oh, nice. Okay. There are those lotuses. I whiffed that completely. This is one very paranoid... Alright, Rob. I don't think he's hit a single person with that ult. I think he hit one person with it one time, excuse me. He might have hit me once earlier in the game, but he's not terribly accurate with it. Suits me fine. This is not something I am questioning. This is fine. Alright.
Your middle tower is under attack.
I'm not sure what's going down in mid lane, but we're going to go over there as soon as we grab my mana buff over here. Let's nope in.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Oh wow, they're really...
Weight on the world.
Hello. Oh, that was not the move I wanted.
Your middle tower is under attack. Of nature. Pick up your feet.
No, you're not going to be able to kill me. Get out of here with that nonsense.
I have achieved. Your feats are legendary.
Boo. Shoot, that's me dead. No, it's not, because the Raw did nothing with it. Which is very odd. Nice. Alright, that's 3v5. We can win this.
Attack.
I just need to get in close. I'm not going to get in close.
Patience.
Oh, hello. Nice. My mouse is having issues again? We good? Oh, hold on. There we go. That's alright. It's alright. We're fine. We're fine. Don't worry about it. Everything is under control. Hold on. Let me heal up real quick. The fake me will tank it. It's fine. Now the real me will tank it. It's also still fine. Alright. Phase stop for the damage camp? Alright. Makes sense. Things that just make sense. I am not going to make it through this. Excuse me? Nice play. Nice play. Alright. Does my mouse feel like cooperating? Kinda? We appear to be good now. Okay. Kinda. Very interesting. Well, if it gets particularly ugly, I have a spot on my desk that I can just use it from, but it'll wig out the first second I transfer. But that's okay. We'll see how it goes. A little bit crazy, a little bit wild, but that's alright. What?
Transform. Enemy team has destroyed the pyramids. We need walls.
None of them have penetration except Pele. Interesting. Look, I'm just trying to grab this Lotus. I'm not doing anything. I have Bird of Note too. Can we gank him really quick? He's alone. All right. Nope. I'll get out. I'm fine. This is fine. My mouse is a little bit weird, but we're otherwise fine.
Weight of the world. Pick up your feet.
All right.
The enemy team has
That's fine.
destroyed the Gold Fury.
I knew he was going to do that. Oh, they're all here.
Enemies in middle lane.
I could really do with some backup. I could really do wonderful things with a modicum of backup. That's gonna hurt. That did not hurt as much as I thought it was going to. Oh, 27 HP. Holy cow. That was close. I gotta get out of here. I can upgrade my teleport. That's not gonna be a huge problem. Check it. Don't check that. Hold on. Mouse having issues again? Alright. Alright, let's not check that. Let's go for Tainted Breastplate, and we're gonna go ahead and upgrade this.
What is left of their life?
Ward here.
Hero Teleport, I think. Not a problem. Let's go. Good.
Enemy has been slain.
You next? That's cool. Get him. There you go. I'll tank this. Whatever. Hello, I can't see. I don't need to, so it's fine, but... There's Ra. Oh, I had a heart attack for a second. I forgot that was Zarya Moja. I was like, wait a minute. That's a problem. Where'd she come from? Oh, she's ours. There we go. Now, again, I really didn't talk too much about strategy or anything like that because, quite frankly, in terms of strategy, just to recap one last time, in terms of strategy, purpose, and goal, etc., Solo hasn't changed. That has not changed at all in the season. And while to some extent builds have changed... Okay, this is just not working out. It's my mousepad, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's my mousepad. I just removed my mousepad, and we're pretty much fine. So I'm not sure what's up with my mousepad, if it needs to be cleaned or whatever. But anyways, just to kind of do a comparison here between Ra and I, because this is actually going to be somewhat of the sort of crux of the problem. You'll notice that while I didn't do great by any means, I did okay. Ra did not great. I almost broke even, and I had 11 assists, so I had a decent enough impact. The Ra did far less, half as many kills, one more death, almost a third less assists. Now, that's not to shame the Ra, but there is a distinct difference here between what the Ra was able to do with Ra, what Sweatlock was able to do with Ra, versus what Sun Wukong is able to do as a solo. And that's what it is essentially coming down to. Ra's defensive strength comes from his heal. Alright, he gets a protection boost and a power boost anytime he's in his heal, right? All allies and himself gets a power and protection boost and some small amounts of healing. That sounds really great on paper, and it can make a big difference if used properly. The problem really is that it also tends to cause your allies to cluster up, right? There's this perception amongst anybody allied with a Ra that standing in the Ra heal is always a good idea. This is not true. Agni proved that fantastically throughout the match. Anytime there was a Ra heal, guess where Agni was aiming his ult? Yes, smack in the middle of that Ra heal. Alright? That's fine if Ra was a mage as well. Right, now that sounds weird to say, but if Ra was a mage, if Ra was playing mid, Ra would not be on the front lines like he was here. As a solo laner, Ra is semi-obligated to be on the front lines, even though he's primarily ranged, right? As a result, he was putting that heal in a position where himself, Pele, and Ymir were all going to be standing in that heal. Now, Agni had an absolute field day with that, especially when you consider the new item of the Calamitous Glyph, which drops a meteor in the area, which is just another piece of damage that Agni can do, smack in the middle of that heal, right? So that's additional damage that Agni is raining down in the middle of Ra's heal, that Ra is drawing his allies to for Agni free of charge on a frontline basis. Now, if, again, Ra were mid laning, he would be farther back. He would be backline. That heal would be healing himself and Zeus. Well, not even Zeus. Zeus was their mid. Himself and Apollo in that case, right, if he was the mid lane. And Agni would have a much harder time reaching that because Agni himself was playing mid lane and was backline. So in order for Agni to access Ra's heal with his ult, he would have had to have dashed forward and thrown those out there. And that would have put him on the front lines. It would have put him in a position of danger in your standard opening fight, right? The catch here is that this is the opening move. Ra opened with the heal every time. Understandably enough. Well, actually, I think he technically opened with the blind every time for the movement speed, but he put the heal right on the front lines wherever he needed it to go. Again, this can still be overcome, but the Ra's build, the Pendulum of Aegis, that's fine, cooldown reduction, some power, Breastplate of Vigilance, more cooldown, some physical protections, you've got some mana, you get the aura, reducing basic attack damage. Here's the problem with this, right? This was a mistake in terms of solo building for Ra. The mistake here is that only Izanami cared about Breastplate of Vigilance. And Ra, even though he's playing solo and theoretically is on the front line, his actual engagement range can be more distant. He's not always going to get into melee range just to hit you with a beam that he can hit you with from a distance, right? So Izanami wasn't even going to be too threatened by this in the first place, because Ra wouldn't, even though Ra would like to be in close range, he doesn't need to be, and so Sweatlock doesn't have the kind of need that I would have. If I built this because I felt that their auto attacks, and I could have built this and gotten away with it for reference, I just was taking my build in other directions, but I could have built this and gotten more out of it because I would have been in melee range of Apollo by need rather than by choice, like the Ra. Same thing with Zeus and Pele. The difference here is psychological, and I don't talk about this much, and not a lot of players do, but when you're playing any ranged character, you're not, even if they do really well in melee range, such as Hades, such as Zhongqi, both of whom play really well in a melee, at a much closer range, melee to maybe slightly farther than melee. Ra is another example of this. A lot of people won't really try to maintain that melee distance. They will try to maintain the maximum distance possible, and they will only close that gap when they have their full kit up. Now, Ra has 40% cooldown, sure, but even with his full kit up, if he had his ult or his beam up, he still wouldn't feel pressured to close that distance, giving Izanami a lot of time to not care about Breastplate of Vigilance. And again, Izanami was the only one who really cared. Yes, Yamoja's auto attacks heal, and she would probably care to some extent. Ao Kuang attacked very often with auto attacks, and he was the only one who was really going to be heavily affected by Breastplate of Vigilance, to be fair. Izanami, again, at range, Ra being technically a ranged character, there's not that psychological pressure to close that gap like there would be with Sun Wukong or any other melee character. Yamoja's also a distance... pardon me, that was me backhanding my mic. A distance support. She's not going to be quite as frontline for, again, the same psychological reason. She doesn't need to be right in the enemy's face, so she's not going to always be in the enemy's face, right? Sun Wukong generally needs to be, unless you're trying not to get killed, which is, as you could see throughout my fights, unless I was deliberately just trying to do a one-off poke with my staff, I was trying to close that into that melee distance because I need to. Ra wasn't. Ra didn't need to close to that melee distance to deal his damage. And that's the real big problem here. The only person on our team who was consistently affected by this was Ao Kuang. And that was only when Ra was ulting, which, you know, wasn't necessarily going to be terribly often. And when he does ult, his ult is a distance ult. It's not an ult that he needs to utilize. He doesn't need to be in melee range for that ult. In fact, being in melee range with Ra's ult is a bad idea because it's easier to dodge the melee range. Think about it. You hear that, you know, going off, you're right there in melee range of him, you know where he's aiming. It's pretty easy to sidestep it at the melee range. That's not really a problem. If you're a Ra main, how often have you hit a melee ult of his? Probably almost never. So this is even more hurtful to Ra's attempts at building Breastplate of Vigilance. The rest of it is fine. Like, the rest of the concept behind building this is fine, but that's the wrong glyph. That's basically what I'm saying. It's not even that Breastplate was wrong. Breastplate is fine. Breastplate of Valor was the absolute right pick. He picked the wrong glyph. He should have picked the other one. That gave him boosted protections, because that would have helped him survive longer on the front line when he is, as a mage, has a much lower base protections. That would have been much more helpful to him. Tyrannical Plate Helm. This is an item I have mixed feelings about. On the one hand, in the laning phase, this is incredible. He actually, honestly, probably should have opened with this, just so he could maximize the amount of time this is really useful. But once you switch to team fights, this is much less useful. Primarily because it doesn't give you enough physical protections, and you're not necessarily always going to have lane minions with you, especially in the late game where the enemy mage or the enemy ADC could very easily wipe the whole wave. Even certain assassins can wipe the whole wave very quickly, making this, while yes, you get that 30 power for 15 seconds, 30 magic power does not go that far. Mid-mains can testify to that. 30 magic power is not a big deal. Alright? So this really doesn't help you that much in the late game. Yes, there are situations every once in a while where this is helpful, namely in split pushing. which Ra really doesn't often want to do in the first place. Yes, Ra can split push, and he does an okay job split pushing, but Ra was the solo here, and as a result, wasn't going to have the auto attack damage to pull that off, really. So, yes, this is really good in the laning phase, but past that, this really is something you want to sell in favor of something else a lot of the time, because your benefits from this in the late game are very narrow. Rod of Asclepius is fine. I really don't have any criticisms of this. This is actually a really fantastic item for Ra, regardless of what role he's playing. If he's playing solo like he was here, you get some power, you get some health for a bit of tankiness, you get increased healing. If he's playing mid, you get a little bit of tankiness out of this for the 200 health, which will help keep you alive longer in fights, and you still get power out of it, and a nice amount of power, too. This is always a good choice on Ra. I don't care what anyone says. Rod of Asclepius is always a strong pick on Ra, regardless of what role he's playing. Even if you're playing jungle, that's plus 7% movement speed. That's really helpful for Ra. That helps Ra keep up with the enemy jungler. Again, this is fantastic. This is always a good pickup on Ra. Anybody who complains about Rod of Asclepius on Ra does not know what they're talking about. I'm going to die on that hill. I don't know why I put an accent on that. Die on that hill. Lotus Crown is also a really good pickup here, but the problem is it's his third protection item. I'm sorry, that's not what I meant to say. His third physical protection item. He's built up too much physical protection. Honestly, he should have built this third instead of the Tyrannical Plate Helm. He built this too late for it to be really useful for that long. Go into Lotus Crown instead, provide some nice protections to his allies. As a solo lane Ra, and even as a mid lane Ra, this is actually also another really strong item to build. Jungler might not necessarily want this. Jungle Ra might not be as fond of this because it doesn't give as much power as one might want. But mid lane Ra will appreciate the protections and the MP5, as well as the passive. Solo lane Ra really appreciates the protections and the passive. This would have been a better pickup than Tyrannical Plate Helm. Again, if you're going to build this, you're going to build this right off the top in the laning phase, and try and capitalize on that aura as much as possible until the late game where you sell it off for something else. He built Voidstone way too late, and again, this comes back to the Breastplate of Vigilance, same issue here. Rod doesn't need to close the gap, so psychologically, he's not going to consistently close the gap. So this wasn't as useful as he probably figured it was going to be. And that's really the problem I have with mage solos, is not necessarily that a mage is brought into solo. Ra can play incredibly well in the solo lane. The problem is that it's very tough to build a mage in the solo lane for some of the reasons I just mentioned. A lot of them don't have any kind of need. They often can play very well in the melee range. Again, Hades comes to mind, Zhonghui comes to mind. But they still don't need to be in melee range, unlike warriors, unlike assassins, who need to be right there. Even most guardians, again, Yamoja is one of the few exceptions, but Ymir, it needs to be in melee range. It's not an option for most normal solo laners, and while there's no problem with being a ranged solo lane, you have to build accordingly, and the Ra just did not. These three items here, Tyrannical Plate Helm, Rod of Asclepius, and Lotus Crown, these are fine items for a solo lane Ra. This should be sold in the late game, but it's a good laning phase item for a solo lane Ra. Again, this probably should have been built first. But Breastplate of Vigilance, like I said earlier, was only really affecting the Yao Kuang, and Voidstone was really only helping Ra on the 50% of the time that he was in melee range. Now, turn around and look at what I was building in comparison, right? So he built Pendulum of Ages for the cooldowns primarily, and a bit of power, but primarily this was built for the cooldowns. That is his number one motivation here. I instead built Tainted Breastplate. The reason I built it was Tainted Steel originally, but Tainted Steel was my first choice because, one, I wasn't sure who was going to be my laning opponent. I didn't know if it was going to be Ymir, Zeus, Ra, Pele. It could have been any of them, really. Apollo was the only one who I knew, and even then, I've played really strong ADC Zeuses, so it could just as easily have been Apollo in the solo lane with an ADC Zeus and a Ra mid. It's possible. So I had no idea who my laning opponent was, but I knew late game Ra was going to try to heal his allies up a bunch, and I knew Pele was going to have a strong self-heal, and there was a very high likelihood Apollo was going to build lifesteal. It turns out he did build lifesteal, but a lot of hunters typically do. That was a pretty safe assumption, so I knew Tainted Steel, regardless of which one I evolved it into, was going to be very useful in the late game. And again, it provided me with both physical and magical protections, so regardless of who my laning opponent would be, I would be ready for them. And then my next item was Blackthorne Hammer. There was a combination of reasons I built this. First off, it was pure health, which is nice. Again, regardless of who my laning opponent was going to be, this was going to help make me tankier against them. It was going to give me just a little bit of power. It was going to give me some cooldown reduction most of the time, and when I was really under the gun, it could give me some MP5. Great item for solo laners. Great item early game as well. If I was losing lane, Blackthorne Hammer could keep me in mana long enough to wait out any stolen blue buff that they might have stolen. And they stole my blue buff a couple of times, so that actually did turn out to be very helpful, even though I was actually winning lane thanks to Ao Kuang. Pestilence was primarily a counter build to Ra. Again, your first 3 items really should be either counter building, well, pretty much should be counter building your enemy. This was very direct. The previous 2 were kind of like, well, no matter who I'm facing against, this will help, which is true. Pestilence, I knew it was Ra by this point, obviously, and this was the hard counter. Again, this goes hand in hand with the Tainted Steel that I had. This was magic protections, which I needed. This was a little bit of health, so when I translated over to the team fights, I would still have some kind of response to enemy physical damage. My next item, naturally, had to be physical. I picked a Gladiator's Shield, because at that point, I was still primarily fighting Ra. Yes, Pele came in occasionally to do some damage. That's fine. Gladiator's Shield was a little bit of power, a little bit of cooldown, a little bit of physical protection, some health. It was just an overall really well-suited item for what I needed. Then I built Mantle of Discord. I actually, in retrospect, probably should have built Genji's Guard or some other kind of magic protection instead, because I went with the Tainted Breastplate, which gives me 70 physical protections. Mantle of Discord was an okay build, but it wasn't as good as what it could have been. But I was getting kind of nervous about my physical protections at that point and hadn't decided which one of the evolutions of Tainted Steel I would be taking, so I took this. Again, this was for the cooldown and protections, completely. The passive is really nice on Sun Wukong specifically, by the way, because if your passive triggers on Mantle of Discord, you stun everyone around you, you're CC immune, that gives you time to ult, to either safety or to heal yourself up so you can get back into the fight. So this is actually incredibly powerful on Sun Wukong, and I think it's really slept on in terms of Sun Wukong players, but passing lightly over that, then I was going to go into Heartseeker for the damage. Now, the reason I wanted Heartseeker specifically is because I knew Ra's heal provides boosted protections, so I wanted a little bit of penetration. This was going to give me 10%. This is going to give me a passive that dealt damage based on a percentage of their HP, which, while it was going to be affected by the protections of Ra, it wasn't going to be too bad, so this would actually still be really nice to splash in there, do some decent damage, and that was my end goal there. But you'll notice I was, kind of, unlike the Ra, which built completely hybrid the whole way through, I had hybrid, pure defense, hybrid, pure defense, pure offense. Everything Ra built was defense or hybrid, and that's not how you really can play even a solo mage. Except for his starter item, which was pure damage, he had offense, defense, hybrid. But some of his items did not require him to be melee, and he wasn't going to always be in melee. And mine, the Pestilence requires me to be in melee, but I'm a melee character. Same thing for Mantle of Discord, right? And my build was specifically designed at first against Ra specifically. He counter-built me, so that's evened out there. And then later on in the game, I was building a bit more towards the enemy team in general. Gladiator's Shield was going to do me very little. They're still talking there? That's interesting. Pele is also very upset. I built Gladiator's Shield because we were going to start transitioning into the team fights, and I knew I would need physical protection. Ra did not make this adjustment for quite a while. Rod of Asclepius was fine as an item to adjust and switch into team fights with, that's fine, but he kept building physical protections after we started team fighting, and he really needed magical protections by this point at the latest, because Agni just slapped this guy, okay? Agni was the bane of Ra's existence, and Lotus Crown is a big reason why. Not necessarily that Lotus Crown was is a bad item to pick on Ra, it's just that by the time that he built this, he really actually should have been building some serious magical protections. Keep in mind, consider, he only had 108 magic protections, alright? That is not a ton of magic protections. You're barely, you're barely removing 50%. At 100 protections, it's 50% damage reduction of that type, and Agni had 10% magical penetration. He was building another 10 or 15 here. I mean, it's just... it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough magic protections. He was still counter-building me with Lotus Crown that late into the game, and it was too late at that point. Furthermore, just to kind of finish up the video, another problem with Ra as a solo laner is he's got no hard CC. He's got a slow. That's it. That's all he's got. Now, what the Ra could have built to help with this would have been Gem of Isolation. Everything Ra does then would slow. He would get extra slows on his blind. He would get a slow on his heal, which actually really is cool. He gets a slow on his beam. He gets a slow on his ultimate. Gem of Isolation is an underbuilt item on Ra, in my opinion, especially solo lane Ra's. But he has no hard crowd control. I've got a stun, or that I can switch to a knockup if I need. I also have a slow, matching Ra. And I have my clone, who can tank towers, as I demonstrated in the late game. Actually, towards the end game. The clone tanked a tower or two, right? Which is incredibly useful. I also have a much safer self-heal. Ra can still be whacked in his self-heal, and that's very easy to mitigate through Pestilence, through Tainted Steel like I had, through Divine Ruin like Yamoja had, right? All of that can really damage Ra's healing. Once you ult as Sun Wukong, unless you've been hit by something like Divine Ruin, which lasts for a couple of seconds, right? It lasts for 6 seconds. Divine Ruin's a pretty serious threat to any self-healing attempt. So is Brawler's Speed Stick. But beyond those, you use Sun Wukong's ult, you're out of the fight. Pestilence doesn't affect you anymore. Tainted Steel does, because that is for 8 seconds, but Tainted Breastplate does, but Tainted Steel doesn't, because that's only 4 seconds, I think. So once that's up, then your healing is fine, but you're not affected by Pestilence. You're completely removed from the fight, so it's a much more consistent heal. It's a safer heal. Ra doesn't have that. He can't exit out of the fight, rejuvenate, and come back in. He doesn't have that option. And a lot of, actually, solo laners have some kind of an option for that. Let me actually go through a couple of warriors as classic examples of this kind of concept. You've got Vaman. He's got his ultimate, which heals him in the middle of the fight. No problem. While he's taking damage, the more damage he takes, the longer it lasts. Pretty great. Mulan has a self-heal inherent in her abilities. She does the double spear stab, and that can heal quite a lot if you've built her properly. Whereas Ra's heal... Right, hold on. Let me actually bring this up very specifically. Behold, the Spear Thrust, that is a heal that scales. That is just 75. That happens to also hit twice, so that's 150 plus whatever amount of power, right? Ra's heal. Go to mages really quick. Ra's heal is noticeably 50 per tick, which is nice. 20 protections, 20 physical power, 10% of your magic power. But when you're playing a solo lane Ra, you're not building nearly as much power, right? So on the surface, yes, it seems like that he would get a lot more healing. Keep in mind that Mulan can build, and often does build, Soul Eater, which increases the amount you heal off of Spirit Thrust even more, but she heals right in the middle of combat without clustering her allies. Horus has all kinds of heals. I only need 7 worshippers, really? Hercules has the Mitigate Wounds, which also gives him a massive protection buff. Right? Just a flat healing, and he restores 70% of whatever health he just lost. Guan Yu's healing is trash. We're not going to talk about that. Erlong Shen's ultimate heals him after a little while. It heals him 15% of his maximum health plus a flat 450, and gives him damage mitigation, rather than protections. It's much stronger than protections. Chalk has his Rain Dance. I, for some reason, thought this was the Rain Dance. Which, yes, the healing isn't quite as flat powerful, but he's got a better scaling on it, and he reduces enemy attack speed with this, which makes it harder to kill him for certain characters. Now, whether or not that's important depends on the team comp, but that's fine. This is weak. I'll give you that one. Amaterasu's is also pretty weak. That's very little healing for a very short period of time. But Achilles has the Shield of Achilles, which not Shield of Achilles, Radiant Glory, right? You can heal a lot off of this. You get increased protections during this. This is a heal that scales. This is a heal that benefits from the power, right? He's got an Execute. He's got a Stun. And even looking at some of these other people who self-heal. Mulan has Grapple, which is a pull. She's got the Root out of Divine Mastery, right? Then we've got Hercules, who's got his famous combo, the Earthbreaker Driving Strike combo, which is a pull and a stun, right? Erlang Shen's ult not only heals him and gives him damage mitigation, it is a taunt. He's got a pop-up here. He's got a root here. Chalk's self-heal is a slow. He's got a silence with a knockback. He's got a... I believe this reduces protections, right? No, it just gives him protections. You know, Bellona, she's got a slow. She's got a disarm. She's got a stun. Amaterasu, well, her healing is weak, and so is Bellona's, by the way. She's got damage mitigation, right? She's got a silence. She's got a stun. She provides an aura to nearby allies that constantly, this is a constant aura, doesn't force them to cluster up too close. You can see the problem, I'm hoping, is mostly that Ra does not have the kind of crowd control to justify his heal. Yes, his heal is more powerful than about half of the warriors I just named. This is true. Absolutely. Faman, Erlang Shen, Hercules, and Sun Wukong all have better self-heals. But all of these, even the ones with weaker self-heals, offer more crowd control, with the exception of Chalk. Even then, Chalk's ultimate is still better crowd control than most of what Ra has to offer. And that's what it comes down to. Ra cannot effectively replace the teammates he needs to. Right? This is going to seem a bit... I'm sorry if this seems a bit ranty, but I really need to emphasize that to choose a mage like Ra, to choose Ra in solo lane, is a very specific win condition for you as a player. If you pick Ra in the solo lane, you need to win that lane. It's not a... It would be nice to win that lane. I didn't need to win the lane as Sun Wukong. I did win the lane because of Ao Kuang. I didn't need to win that lane. Ra needed to, because Ra does not translate as well into late game teamfights, because unlike Sun Wukong, who can replace either the jungler or the support in a fight if either of them dies, Sun Wukong does just enough damage to be a threat to the squishies, and he has just enough protections to be able to tank for a little while if the support dies. The Ra does not have that option. He does not... If you're building a solo Ra as a solo Ra, you're not going to have enough damage to necessarily keep on pace with the assassin, because you're building protections, and Ra's damage does to some extent rely on scaling. Behold, Ra's scaling. Right? We have 100% magic power here. We have 55% magic power here. We have 20% here, which is his lowest one. We've got 100% here. 100, 100, 55, and 20. I'm talking about the damage here, not the heal. Right? So, not building tons of power on Ra really hurts his damage output. Unlike Sun Wukong, who has pretty flat high damage. He's got 60% on Magic Cudgel, 65% on Master's Will. He's got 80% on the Tiger, but he's only got 60% on the Ox. He's got 100% on this. So his ult matches Ra's ult for scaling, although the flat damage is less, but it has the heal. Magic Cudgel is 40% less than the Beam. The Master's Will is 10% more than his blind. And this, sometimes, it depends on what form I pick, because obviously the Eagle, the Bird of Nope, has no scaling. Sun Wukong can get away with building less damage. Ra cannot. And he can't replace the Assassin as a result. Not as easily, anyways. Especially since, again, he's not really got the ability to close that easily. I can use the Tiger or the Ox or the Bird of Nope to close in on an enemy as Sun Wukong, thereby allowing me to keep roughly a pace with a jungler should I need to replace them. Ra gets a movement speed, a passive movement speed boost from using his abilities, which is not quite the same thing. Sometimes it is enough, oftentimes it will not be, because he can be slowed out of it. And slows are the most common and the weakest crowd control in the game. Technically. So that's a problem. He doesn't have the crowd control to replace the support. He's got no hard crowd control in his kit. None. And the enemy Ra did not build any hard crowd control. I built an additional stun into my kit with Mantle of Discord. That was mostly to keep me alive But it's still hard crowd control. It's a 1-second stun when I'm close to death. It's still hard crowd control. Ra had none of that. So that's ultimately why Ra had a hard time with this match. He needed to win lane, and Ao recognized that and slapped him down. And Ra was having a really rough time throughout the rest of the match. So, just kind of... I kind of just went off on that kind of tangent, partially to explain, because I don't think I've ever sat down and explained what the real problem with mages in solo lane is. That's the problem with mages in solo lane. And the reason why I went off on it here is because there really isn't, once again, there's no change in Season 9 for the purpose, goals, or start, or strategies for solo lanes. Your personal builds will change based on the items. The way I built Sun Wukong in this match, I talked about one other way I could have built him. I didn't talk about it. I briefly mentioned in passing a secondary way I could have built him instead of what I built, and it would have been just as effective. And there's a couple of other different ways that I know of that I could have built Sun Wukong and remained effective. I just built what I built because that's just the way I'm more comfortable playing him. But, again, with solo lanes, that build is adjustable. The first half, you're customizing it to your laning opponent. The second half, you're adjusting it to be able to fulfill whatever need you happen to have on your team. And that's just about all there is to it. So, thank you all very much for joining me. I apologize for ranting a little bit there, but it's an important subject that I don't think a whole lot of people talk about. And Ra was a great example of why. No hate to the Ra player. Just build more hard crowd control into your kit and win that lane. Gotta win that lane so you can start rotating and stopping people. But yeah, thank you all very much for joining me. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, suggestions, or requests, please leave them down in the comment section below. And, yeah, if you liked this, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, please ignore me, and have a great 24 hours.